Questions 1 through 4 on the 2010 Grade 12 Euclid Math Contest. If 3 to the power of x is 27, what is the value of 3 to the power of x plus 2? 3 to the power of x is 27. Now 27 can be written as 3 to the power of 3. So therefore, since the bases are the same, the exponents are the same, so x is equal to 3. Now they want us to figure out the value of 3 to the power of x plus 2. Well, x is equal to 3, so we put 3 there and add 2, and that becomes 3 to the power of 5, and 3 to the power of 5 is 243. If 2 to the power of 5 times 3 to the power of 13 times 5 to the power of 9 times x is equal to 2 to the power of 7 times 3 to the power of 14 times 5 to the power of 9, what is the value of x? Well, we can just take x and isolate it, so just put that in the denominator on the other side, and then hopefully a lot of things will cancel out. So we got 2 to the power of 5, 3 to the power of 13, and 5 to the power of 9. So immediately you can see that these 5 to the power of 9s, both of them cancel. And then from the 3's, this just becomes 3 to the power of 1 because it's 14 minus 13. And then for the 2's, it becomes 2 to the power of 2. It's 7 minus 5. So I can even write that in if you really want me to. And this, of course, just becomes 5, 9 minus 9. So this is 2 to the power of 2, 3 to the power of 1, and 5 to the power of 0, which is just 1. So that just disappears. So therefore, x is just 2 to the power of 2 times 3, which is 4 times 3, which is equal to 12. Triangle ABC is enclosed by the lines y is equal to x plus 2 and y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 2 and the x-axis. Determine the area of triangle ABC. So this line is y is equal to x plus 2 because it has a positive slope. And this line, of course, has to be the other one, which is minus 1/2 x plus 2. So our task is to get these intersection points, and then that will give us an idea of the lengths of those sides, and then we can figure out the area of that triangle. So to get this intersection point, that is of course the x-intercept, so set y equal to 0 in this equation. So that would mean 0 is equal to x plus 2, and therefore x is equal to negative 2. So A, this point right here, is negative 2. And then very similarly, we get the x-intercept, which is represented by C, and we do that by setting y equal to 0 on that line. So 0 is equal to minus 1/2 x plus 2. So therefore, x over 2 is equal to 2, and that means x is equal to 4. So this C on the x-axis is 4. And then finally, of course, we have to get that point. And that point, there's a few ways, right? You can use either equation. You can use their intersection point. I'm just going to make it simple. It's the y-intercept for this line. How do you get the y-intercept? Well, you set x equal to 0. And if you do, you get 0 plus 2, and therefore y is 2. So this point B, that is represented by the 2. So now we can easily figure out the distances from A to C is going to be from negative 2 to 4, and that is, of course, a distance of 6. From O to B, I should say, that is a distance of just 2. So the area of ABC is 1/2 base times height. The base is 6, and the height is 2, and therefore the area is 6. Maria has a red package, a green package, and a blue package. The sum of the masses of the 3 packages is 60 kg. Sum of the masses of the red and green packages is 25 kg. The sum of the masses of the green and blue packages is 50 kg. What is the mass of the green package in kg? So of course, I'll let R, G, and B represent the packages, and they tell me that the sum of the 3 packages is 60. So R plus G plus B is 60. And then they tell me the sum of the red and the green, so R plus G, is equal to 25. And the mass sum of green and blue is 50. So green and blue, so G plus B is 50. So these are our equations that we're going to use to figure out G, which is what they want us to find. Find G, the mass of the green package. Okay, so let's proceed with this. In this equation here, we can use that. And the good news is that G plus B, they've already told me is 50. So these two guys are 50. So that means R plus 50 is 60. So therefore R is equal to 10. So that's my first value. And then going back to the same equation, R plus G plus B is equal to 60. These two, R plus G, they have told me is 25. So I can put that in there, and that means 25 plus B is equal to 60. And therefore B is equal to 35. So I know R, I know B, and I can just go back and substitute both of those into that original equation. So R, which is 10, plus G plus B, which is 35, is equal to 60. So that means G is equal to 50 minus 35, which is 15. And they want it in kg. A palindrome is a positive integer that is the same when read forwards or backwards. For example, 151 is a palindrome. What is the largest palindrome less than 200? That is the sum of three consecutive integers. So we have three consecutive integers, x, x plus 1, and x plus 2. And when you add them, they are going to equal some palindrome. So this is 3x plus 3. Now I can factor out a 3, and I get 3x plus 1. So this palindrome obviously is a multiple of 3. It is divisible by 3. So all the numbers less than 200 we have to look at, but hopefully we don't have to look at too many. We're going to start with 199 and then keep going down. Now, there's two rules that have to be met. The first is that it's divisible by 3, the number, and the second that it's a palindrome. So what we do is we just look at first numbers that are divisible by 3 and see if they are palindromes. So 198, for example, is the first number that's divisible by 3 that's less than 200. Now that's obviously not a palindrome. And we just keep going down, 195, 192, like that, 189, and so on. And just keep looking at these numbers to see if they are palindromes or not. And so far I don't see any. But hopefully we'll get one sooner rather than later. And there we go. I just got one. So this number is the largest number, because I could keep going, right? But they want the largest one. So it's the largest number that is a palindrome. Obviously 171 is the same backwards and forward. But it also meets this requirement that it's divisible by 3. And there you go. And just for the sake of curiosity, if you want, you can sub it in. X plus 1 is equal to 171. And you'll get that x is equal to 56. So that means these numbers are 56, 57, and 58. So the answer to this question is 171. If x plus 1 times x minus 1 is equal to 8, determine the numerical value of x squared plus x times x squared minus x. Well, this equation right here, we have a few ways of solving it, right? We can multiply it all out, or we can just look at inspection. X plus 1 times x minus 1. I immediately notice that it's two numbers that you multiply together to give you 8. And if this was 4 and this is 2, that would work. And if that is the case, that means x plus 1 is 4 and x minus 1 is 2. And if you add these, you get 2x is equal to 6, and therefore x is 3. And that's just a quick way. I mean, if you want to multiply it all out, you get a quadratic and then factor the quadratic, you use the quadratic equation, that's perfectly fine. So now I take this x equals 3 and just substitute it into that. So I've got x squared plus x times x squared minus x. Now what's interesting about this question is that this x equals 3 is going to give you the right answer, but x can also equal negative 3. If you were to do this as negative 4 and negative 2. But what's interesting is that both values of x give you the same answer. So I guess that's a good thing. So I substitute x equals 3. I get 3 squared plus 3 times 3 squared minus 3, like that. So this is 9 plus 3, and this is 9 minus 3. So this is 12, and this is 6, and 6 times 12 is 72. If you were to sub in negative 3 for x, you would get again 9 minus 3 times 9 minus 3, like that. And this is again 6 times 12, and it would give you the same answer of 72. B, the bee, sets out from her hive H and flies south for 1 hour to a field F. She spends 30 minutes in the field and then flies 45 minutes west to a garden G. After spending 1 hour in the garden, she flies back to her hive along a straight line route. B always flies at the same constant speed. What is the total length of time in minutes that she is away from her hive? So, she is going to be in this part of the graph for 1 hour from H to F. And then at F, she is there for 30 minutes, which is a half hour. And then from F to G, it's 45 minutes, so that's 3/4 of an hour. At G, she is there for 1 hour. And then finally, from G to H, we don't know. That we have to figure out. I'll just call that T for time. And then, of course, we have to add all these guys up. So the total time is going to be 1 plus a half plus 3/4 plus 1 plus t. And that is 2 plus 5/4 plus t. So all we have to do is figure out t, and we are set. In this question, we are going to use a formula. Speed is equal to distance over time. And therefore, distance will be speed times time, like this. And we will use the Pythagorean relationship, obviously, because that's a right angle. So that means that HF in terms of distance plus GF in terms of its distance, this squared plus that squared is equal to GH squared. Now HF, if I use this formula, that distance will be speed times time. Now the speed I don't know, I'll just call it S for speed. And the time, well, it's 1 hour. So that is S times 1 all squared. GF, in a very similar way, is the speed times the time, and this time is 3/4. So I put 3/4 there. And that's squared. And then GH, again, S times T. My S is S, and my T is also just the letter T, since I don't know what it is yet. Now if I multiply this all out, I get S squared plus S squared times 9/4 is equal to S squared times T squared. So the S squared we can divide through and get rid of it from every term. So this just leaves me with 1 plus 9/4, 9/16, sorry, forgot to square that. And then on the other side is just T squared. So 1 plus 9/16, that's 16/16, multiply top and bottom, so that's 25/16. And then if you take the square root to get t, it'll just be 5/4. So this is 5/4, so this just becomes 2 plus 5/4 plus 5/4, and that is 4.5 in terms of a decimal, and it's hours, 4.5 hours. And you can convert that to minutes if you want. 4.5 hours times 60, and that would give you 270 minutes. Either answer is fine. 4.5 hours or 270 minutes. In the diagram, points P, which are P4, and B, 10, 0, and 0, or O rather, which is 0, 0, are shown. If angle OPB is right angled at P, determine all possible values of P. So this O is at the origin, so it's just 0, 0. This B, they have told me, is 10, 0. And then P is labeled P4. So this is a Pythagorean question because that's a right angle. So that basically means that OP squared plus PB squared is equal to OB squared, like that. And we have to use the distance formula to figure this out. Well, OB is the easiest one. That's just 10, since it's just 10 on the x-axis, so that's just 10 squared. OP, using the distance formula, P minus 0 squared plus 4 minus 0 squared, all under the square root sign, but then we have to square it. So like that. And then PB, very similar, P minus 10 squared plus 4 minus 0 squared, which is just 4 squared, all under the square root sign, but then we have to square that. So the good news is when you square it, the radical signs disappear. This just becomes P squared plus 16. And on this side, we have P minus 10 squared plus 16, and that's equal to 100. So we'll multiply all this out. P squared plus 32 plus P squared minus 20P plus 100 is equal to 100. Let's collect like terms. So this will be 2P squared minus 20P plus 32 is equal to 0. Divide through by 2 and get P squared minus 10P plus 16 is 0. And if we factor this, you get P, let's say 8, 2, negative, negative. So that means that P is equal to either positive 2 or positive 8. And those are our two possible values for P. Thurka bought some stuffed goats and some toy helicopters. She paid a total of $201. She did not buy partial goats or partial helicopters. Each stuffed goat cost $19, and each toy helicopter cost $17. How many of each did she buy? So $19 times G for goats plus $17 times H for helicopter is equal to 201. So we just have to figure out integer solutions to this question. That's basically what we're being asked. So we can make a little table of G and H and start plugging away values and see what we get. All right, so let's see. And calculators are allowed, so you can just start plugging away. If H is 1, we get about 9.6, so that's not an integer solution because the number of goats has to be an integer and the number of helicopters has to be an integer because they've told you she does not buy partial goats or helicopters. So when H is 2, you get 8.7. When H is 3, you get 7.8. When H is 4, you get 7. So this is an integer solution. And just for the sake of completeness, we'll just figure out very quickly all the other ones. And I'll just fill in those values. 6.1, 5.2. When it's 7, it's 4.3. 3.4. When it's 9, it's 2.5. When it's 10, it's 1.6. And when it's 11, it drops down to 0.7. So there's no other integer solutions. So it's 7 goats that she buys and 4 helicopters. And I always encourage to verify if this does work. 19 times 7 plus 17 times 4. 19 times 7 is 133. 17 times 4 is 68. And that does indeed equal 201. So this is our answer. Determine all real values of x for which x plus 8 to the power of 4 is equal to 2x plus 16 to the power of 2. This equation is rather interesting. You don't need to expand it and get x to the power of 4 and all that. You can just take the square of both sides. But when you do, just keep in mind that you're going to get plus or minus answers. So it'll be plus or minus on this side and plus or minus 2x plus 16. So it looks like we'll have 4, right, cases, but the good news is that 2 of them are identical. So the first one, of course, is x plus 8 is equal to 2x plus 16, and that's just the one where they're both positive. And then the next one is the minus x plus 8 squared is equal to 2x plus 16. So we got plus plus and minus plus, right? But then the good news is that if you do the other ones, the negative negative, where you're taking this negative and that negative, it's the same, because you can just multiply both sides by -1. So this one doesn't really need to be done. It's the same as plus plus. And the final one, which would be plus and negative, so this one would be positive and that one's negative, that's the same as this one. So that one doesn't need to be done. So we only need to concentrate on these two to get the values of x. So let's proceed with the first one, multiply it all out and collect like terms. X squared plus 16x plus 64 is equal to 2x plus 16. And therefore we have x squared plus 14x plus 48 is equal to 0. And if you factor this, we will get x, 8 and 6 positive positive, so therefore x is equal to -6 and -8. This one, same thing, we'll do the exact same thing, multiplying it all out. We get minus x squared plus 16x plus 64, and that is 2x plus 16. If you put everything on one side, it becomes x squared plus 16x plus 64 plus 2x plus 16 is equal to 0. Collecting like terms, you get x squared plus 18x plus 80 is equal to 0. And then this can factor x, 10, 8 plus plus. So x is either -8 or -10. So combining these two results, we get -6, -8, and -10 as our possible values of x. And I encourage you to plug them back into this to see if they actually do all work, and they do. So we've got 3 values.